Walk slowly, think clearly, live deliberately. A simple instruction, yet most lives unfold in direct opposition to it. We rush, we react, we cling to urgency as though it were a sign of importance. But the faster we move without awareness, the more we lose ourselves. And the more we lose ourselves, the more life escapes us. Here is the quiet paradox. The world moves quickly, but wisdom does not. The world urges haste, but inner peace requires stillness. The world rewards noise, but clarity grows only in silence. To walk slowly is not to fall behind. It is to step into the rhythm of nature, patient, steady, alive in each moment. To think clearly is not to overanalyze. It is to see reality as it is, not as fear or desire paints it. To live deliberately is not to control every detail. It is to act with purpose, guided by virtue rather than impulse. This is the path of a steady and disciplined mind. The path of a life lived consciously, not accidentally. A life that chooses direction, rather than being dragged by momentum. Pause now and reflect on your own days. How often do you rush into decisions, conversations, or conflicts simply because the moment pulled you forward? How often do you speak before understanding? How often do you act before thinking? How often do you react before breathing? Every rushed moment becomes a missed moment. Every unexamined impulse becomes a mistake repeated. Every unsteady thought becomes suffering extended. And yet, the remedy is not complex. Slow your steps. Clear your mind. Live with intention rather than urgency. For the quality of your mind shapes the quality of your life. A hurried life is a fragile life. A deliberate life is an unshakable one. To walk slowly is to move in accordance with nature, and nature does not rush. Everything in nature unfolds in its own time. The seasons shift gradually. The sun rises with quiet certainty. A tree grows patiently toward the sky, one ring at a time. Nothing in nature hurries, yet everything happens. So why should we believe that urgency improves us? Why should we trust haste more than clarity? Why should we let the pace of the world dictate the state of our minds? Walking slowly is not a matter of physical speed. It is a state of awareness. It is the willingness to inhabit the present moment fully, without being dragged forward by fear of the future or backward by regret of the past. When the mind slows, life opens. When the mind is steady, challenges shrink to their real size. And when the mind is deliberate, choices become aligned with virtue rather than emotion. To walk slowly is to choose your pace. To think clearly is to choose your thoughts. To live deliberately is to choose your life. Clarity begins the moment you stop rushing. When you resist the impulse to react immediately, you create space within yourself, a space where wisdom can speak. A clouded mind cannot see the path. A noisy mind cannot hear reason. A fearful mind cannot choose wisely. But a clear mind sees the world as it truly is. Not as the ego wants it to be. Not as desire distorts it. Not as fear dramatizes it. A clear mind sees reality plainly, and therefore responds effectively. This is why the Stoic trains the mind above all else. Not to escape the world, but to walk through it with steadiness. Not to avoid challenges, but to face them with clarity. Not to suppress emotion, but to master it through understanding. A steady mind makes all things manageable. A clear mind makes all things navigable. A deliberate mind makes all things meaningful. Think back to a mistake you made, a moment you wish you could revisit. Ask yourself, did that mistake arise from clarity or confusion? From patience or haste? From wisdom or emotion? Almost always, suffering traces back to moments in which we moved too fast for our mind to catch up. We spoke from anger. We acted from fear. We decided from pressure. We reacted from impulse. A life lived without deliberation becomes a life filled with regret. Not because the world was cruel, but because the mind was unprepared. When you walk slowly, you remain grounded. When you think clearly, you remain in control. When you live deliberately, you remain aligned with your highest self. Imagine the difference this could make in daily life. When someone insults you, instead of reacting, you pause. You let the emotion rise and fall without obeying it. You choose a response that reflects your strength, not your irritation. When you face a difficult decision, instead of rushing to escape uncertainty, you breathe. You allow clarity to form naturally. You choose based on reason, not anxiety. When life shifts unexpectedly, instead of resisting, you observe. You allow acceptance to replace frustration. You adapt not with panic, but with wisdom. This is the purpose of a deliberate life, not to control outcomes, but to control yourself. Not to avoid suffering, but to prevent unnecessary suffering. Not to manipulate the world, but to master your mind. A steady mind cannot be pushed off balance by someone else's anger. A clear mind cannot be deceived by its own desires. A deliberate mind cannot be rushed into foolishness. And this, the mastery of self, is the foundation of peace. The modern world pushes constantly toward speed. We hurry through meals. We hurry through conversations. We hurry through our own lives as though rushing leads somewhere better. But a Stoic life is not measured by how quickly you move, but by how wisely you move. Your pace matters less than your presence. Your achievements matter less than your character. Your outward progress matters less than your inward alignment. To live deliberately is to choose quality over speed, to choose clarity over noise, to choose virtue over impulse. It is the art of recognizing that your time is limited and that moving quickly through it does not create more of it. If anything, it makes life shorter because you are not truly living the moments you rush through. Slowness becomes a form of respect. Respect for your life. Respect for your mind. Respect for the nature that shaped you. Throughout each day, you will face countless moments that ask you to rush. A decision that seems urgent. A message demanding a reply. A conflict pushing for reaction. A fear whispering that you must act before you are ready. But urgency is often a trap. The world rarely falls apart because you paused. But your inner world often does when you fail to pause. Walking slowly is the discipline of refusing to be commanded by urgency. Thinking clearly is the discipline of refusing to be commanded by emotion. Living deliberately is the discipline of refusing to be commanded by habit. These are the foundations of a life that feels full, calm, and deeply aligned with virtue. To walk slowly is to reclaim your life from haste. To think clearly is to reclaim your mind from confusion. To live deliberately is to reclaim your soul from distraction. But these are not separate acts. They are one movement, a single way of being. When you slow your steps, your thoughts become ordered. When your thoughts become ordered, your actions become intentional. When your actions become intentional, your life becomes your own. The deliberate life is not shaped by chance. It is carved with purpose, with patience, with attention. It is a life in which you recognize that every action is either aligned with virtue or misaligned with it. And the more aligned you are, the more peaceful your days become. To live deliberately is to act as if each moment matters, because it does. Every moment is an opportunity to strengthen the mind or weaken it, to choose wisdom or choose impulse, to build character or to neglect it. A person who walks slowly does not drift through life. They move with intention. A person who thinks clearly does not get lost in assumptions. They seek truth. A person who lives deliberately does not scatter their energy. They protect it. Imagine carrying a cup filled to the brim. If you rush, you spill. If you walk steadily, the cup remains full. Your mind is that cup. Every hurried thought spills peace. Every rushed decision spills clarity. Every impulsive reaction spills virtue. Walk steadily. Keep the cup full. Deliberateness is not rigidity. It is presence. It is awareness of the weight of your choices, not fear of choosing. It is the understanding that a small action done with purpose is more powerful than 100 actions done with haste. A slow, deliberate step is a strong step. A clear, deliberate thought is a wise thought. A life built from deliberate moments becomes unshakable. Think about how most people live. They hurry from one task to another, their minds tangled in worry, their actions driven by habit rather than intention. They react to every disturbance, pulled this way and that by impulses they never pause to understand. They are living quickly, but they are not truly living. They are thinking constantly, but not thinking clearly. They are acting incessantly, but not deliberately. Ask yourself, how many of your daily actions come from your own reasoned choice? How many come from pressure, impulse, or fear? How many of your thoughts reflect your true judgment? How many are simply echoes of old patterns or external noise? The Stoic does not blame the world for this. The world is noisy by nature, Society is restless by design. But the mind, your mind, does not have to imitate the world. The mind becomes steady the moment you stop letting everything inside it. A steady mind closes the gate gently, saying, "This thought is mine. That one is not. This fear deserves my attention. That distraction does not." A deliberate life is, in essence, the art of choosing what enters your mind and what leaves it. To walk slowly, to think clearly, to live deliberately, these are acts of self-respect. In the modern world, living deliberately requires conscious training. The world will not train you for clarity, it will train you for speed. The world will not train you for peace, it will train you for reaction. The world will not train you for discipline, it will train you for distraction. But the Stoic trains in the opposite direction, because the Stoic seeks mastery over the only domain that matters, the inner one. Here are ways you can begin applying deliberate living each day. Walk slowly in your actions. Before you begin any task, take one breath. A single, calm breath is enough to reset the mind. Start with presence, not momentum. Even when the task requires quick hands, let your mind remain steady. Think clearly before speaking. Do not let words emerge from your mouth simply because emotion pushes them. Let your words follow your judgment, not precede it. Silence is not a weakness, it is a form of clarity. Live deliberately in your choices. When faced with a decision, ask yourself, is this aligned with my values, or am I being driven by impulse? The Stoic does not chase what is pleasant, the Stoic chooses what is right. Modern life teaches efficiency. Stoic life teaches effectiveness. Efficiency is speed, effectiveness is direction. Speed without direction leads nowhere. Direction without haste leads anywhere you intend to go. A deliberate life is directional, not reactive. It is built from intention, not coincidence. It is shaped by character, not convenience. When you walk slowly, you notice the path beneath your feet. When you think clearly, you see the path ahead. When you live deliberately, you choose each step with purpose. Reflection continued. Consider the times in your life when you acted without thinking. Did those moments strengthen you or weaken you? Did they bring clarity or confusion? Did they solve your problem or deepen it? Most suffering does not come from the event itself, but from our rushed reaction to it. A harsh word spoken impulsively, a choice made without thought, a fear obeyed without examination. When the mind is steady, suffering shrinks. When the mind is clear, worry dissolves. When the mind is deliberate, chaos loses its grip. Life becomes lighter not because the world becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Deliberate living is a quiet form of courage. The courage to remain calm when others panic. The courage to choose virtue when others choose comfort. The courage to be guided by reason rather than reaction. The world admires speed, but speed often leads to regret. The wise admire steadiness, because steadiness leads to understanding. Think of the strongest people you know. Their strength is not loud. Their clarity is not frantic. Their actions are not rushed. They move with intention. They choose their words. They endure with patience. They live with quiet discipline. This is the strength the Stoic cultivates, the strength that comes from deliberate living. A slow step can carry great power. A clear thought can cut through great confusion. A deliberate life can withstand great hardship. And when these three come together, steady movement, clear thought, deliberate action, the mind becomes unshakable. To walk slowly in a world obsessed with speed is an act of quiet rebellion. To think clearly in a world clouded by distraction is an act of preservation. To live deliberately in a world driven by impulse is an act of courage. These are not dramatic acts. They are subtle, internal, often unnoticed by others. But they transform your life far more deeply than any outward achievement. A person who lives deliberately does not live more safely, they live more fully. A person who walks slowly does not accomplish less, they accomplish what matters. A person who thinks clearly does not avoid challenges, they navigate them wisely. The deliberate life is not about controlling everything. It is about controlling yourself, which is the only control nature ever granted you. There is a truth you must understand if you wish to live deliberately. Most of the world's chaos is borrowed chaos. It is not yours. It enters only when you open the door. The opinions of others, the noise of the crowd, the urgency of imagined catastrophes. These are not yours unless you accept them. A slow step gives you the chance to decide what belongs to you and what does not. A clear thought reveals which burdens are real and which are illusions. A deliberate action ensures that your energy is spent only on what aligns with your principles. The Stoic does not rush to pick up every burden that passes by. The Stoic chooses carefully, wisely, consciously. Walk slowly, see the burden clearly. Think clearly, evaluate its weight. Live deliberately, choose whether to lift it. If it is not yours to carry, let it pass. If it does not cultivate virtue, release it. If it disturbs your mind without purpose, close your gate to it. Your mind is your sanctuary. A deliberate life protects that sanctuary with vigilance. Consider the way a gardener tends a quiet space. They do not grab at everything. They observe, they prune, they cultivate. The garden thrives not because they act quickly, but because they act purposefully. Your inner life is no different. Clarity requires pruning. Wisdom requires cultivation. Peace requires protection. The hurried mind grasps at everything. The steady mind touches only what is worth touching. Look at your life closely. How many things disturb you simply because you allow them to? How many things pull your attention because you offer it freely? How many worries live in your mind without your permission? A slow walk through the day reveals these intrusions clearly. A clear mind questions their necessity. A deliberate spirit removes them. Living deliberately is a form of mental housekeeping, not once a year, but every moment. You notice a thought, a fear, an irritation. Instead of accepting it blindly, you ask, does this serve me? Does this align with virtue? Is this within my control? If the answer is no, why let it remain? Most suffering is not the result of external events. It is the result of us inviting those events into our minds, replaying them, assigning meaning to them, resisting them, and allowing them to grow roots. But a slow, steady approach to life keeps you from absorbing unnecessary pain. A clear, observing mind prevents stories from forming too quickly. A deliberate mindset cuts suffering off at the root. Pain is often unavoidable. Suffering is often optional. Deliberate living is the path through which you learn to experience pain without multiplying it, to feel emotion without obeying it, to face challenges without collapsing beneath them. A slow step is not weakness, it is composure. A clear thought is not detachment, it is clarity. A deliberate action is not rigidity, it is mastery. In modern life, most anxiety comes from speed, not from the events themselves, but from our rushed reactions to them. We answer messages instantly, not thoughtfully. We commit to tasks quickly, without evaluating them. We react to emotions immediately, without letting them settle. We form opinions swiftly, without understanding. This pace weakens the mind. It makes us fragile, reactive, and exhausted. But a deliberate life restores strength. It teaches you how to act slowly even when the world is fast. It teaches you how to remain clear even when emotions rise. It teaches you how to stay grounded even when everything around you shifts. Here are ways you can practice deliberate living each day. Move with awareness. When you walk, feel the steps. When you eat, taste the food fully. When you speak, choose each word as though it matters, because it does. Think with discipline. Before accepting a belief, examine it. Before accepting a fear, question it. Before accepting guilt, evaluate whether it is earned. Your thoughts should reflect reality, not imagination. Your judgments should reflect wisdom, not impulse. Act with intention. Before doing something, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Does this align with the kind of person I wish to be? If the answer is unclear, slow down until clarity forms. If the answer is no, let the action go. Deliberate living requires you to protect your energy fiercely, not because the world is dangerous, but because your inner peace is precious. A deliberate life focuses on quality, not quantity, on depth, not speed, on virtue, not appearance. When you walk slowly, you give your mind space to breathe. When you think clearly, you give your life direction. When you live deliberately, you give your soul peace. Ask yourself a simple but powerful question. What would my life look like if I stopped rushing through it? If you slowed your mornings? If you approached choices with patience? If you allowed silence to teach you? If you treated each moment as a deliberate step on a meaningful journey? How much anxiety would dissolve? How many mistakes would be avoided? How much wisdom would reveal itself? A slow pace does not inhibit progress. It ensures you are moving the right way. A clear mind does not reduce action. It improves it. A deliberate life does not limit experience. It deepens it. The Stoic does not fear missing out, because the Stoic does not measure life by comparison. The Stoic measures life by alignment with virtue, by clarity of mind, by steadiness of spirit. And these things require no frantic motion. They require presence, awareness, deliberate being. When you walk slowly through your own life, you begin to notice what most people overlook. Not because you are more intelligent, but because you are more present. The hurried mind sees only fragments. The steady mind sees the whole. And when you see the whole, you act with clarity rather than confusion. Living deliberately sharpens your perception. It allows you to recognize opportunities that haste would have concealed. It helps you detect dangers before they become crises. It shows you where your energy is best invested. Not in everything, but in the few things that truly matter. A deliberate life is not cluttered. It is not bloated with obligations. It is not dominated by impulse. It is structured around purpose. And purpose cannot be found when the mind is racing. When you slow your pace, your senses awaken. You begin to feel the weight of your words before you speak them. You begin to see the consequences of your actions before you take them. You begin to understand your emotions before you obey them. This is how wisdom grows, through the simple act of paying attention. Life does not require extraordinary insight. It requires ordinary observations made with extraordinary consistency. When you walk slowly, you notice the tone beneath someone's words. You notice the rise of irritation before it becomes anger. You notice the subtle tug of fear before it becomes panic. You notice the early signs of fatigue before it becomes exhaustion. Most suffering enters because we notice too late. Deliberate living reduces this delay. It turns life from a series of emergencies into a series of manageable moments. People often ask what it means to think clearly. It means seeing things as they are, not as your impatience paints them. It means acting from reason, not reaction. It means allowing the mind to breathe before forcing it to decide. Clarity is not a gift granted in rare moments. It is the natural state of a mind that has been trained in stillness. If you wish to think clearly, slow down. If you wish to live deliberately, simplify. If you wish to walk wisely, pay attention. These are the foundations of a resilient and peaceful mind. Think about the moments when your life felt chaotic. Did the chaos come from too many events or from too many rushed reactions? Most of life's pressure comes from how quickly we demand solutions. Uncertainty arrives, and we want clarity immediately. Conflict arises, and we want resolution instantly. A challenge appears, and we want strength on demand. But nature does not work this way. Clarity takes time. Resolution takes patience. Strength takes cultivation. When you walk slowly, you stop demanding immediate answers. When you think clearly, you stop feeding fear with imagination. When you live deliberately, you stop allowing urgency to command you. Many people are tired not because life is hard, but because their minds are noisy. Because they treat every moment as a crisis. Because they rush through the day as though fleeing something unnamed. But what if you stopped running? What if you met life where it is, instead of sprinting ahead of it? What if you allowed yourself to breathe fully, to think fully, to act fully? Rushing through life does not get you there faster. It merely ensures you arrive unprepared. A Stoic trains not for speed, but for steadiness. Not for constant action, but for right action. Here are practices that deepen deliberate living. 1. Practice intentional slowness. Choose one daily activity to perform more slowly than usual. Pouring tea, tying shoes, writing a message. Let your mind settle into the motion. Train it to resist the pull of haste. You are teaching yourself that not everything requires speed. 2. Observe before deciding. When faced with a choice, pause long enough to see the situation clearly. Ask, what is within my control here? What is my intention? What outcome aligns with virtue? This short pause can prevent 1,000 regrets. 3. Respond, don't react. A reaction is an impulse. A response is a choice. When emotion rises, let it rise, but wait for it to fall. Action taken after the emotion settles will be clearer, calmer, and wiser. The Stoic is not controlled by emotion. The Stoic uses emotion as information, not instruction. 4. Simplify the unnecessary. Look at your commitments, your habits, your mental clutter. Which of these drain your energy without serving your values? A deliberate life is built by removing, not adding. Simplicity is not deprivation. Simplicity is clarity. 5. Align every action with virtue. Ask continually, does this make me wiser? Does this make me stronger? Does this reflect the kind of person I seek to become? Deliberate living is not about perfection. It is about alignment. A small action aligned with virtue is worth more than a grand action driven by impulse. Consider how you begin your mornings. Do you start with intention, or does the world seize your attention before you are fully awake? A rush morning often becomes a rushed life. A deliberate morning sets the tone for a deliberate day. Consider how you end your evenings. Do you review the day with clarity, or collapse into distraction? A deliberate evening strengthens the mind, preparing it for tomorrow. The quiet truth is this: a deliberate life is a collection of deliberate moments. Moments when you choose to breathe before speaking. Moments when you choose to observe before acting. Moments when you choose virtue over impulse. Moments when you choose presence over speed. No one becomes wise all at once. Wisdom accumulates slowly, like dew gathering on grass. It forms through attention, through presence, through deliberate living. And as it gathers, something remarkable happens. The path of life becomes gentler, not because obstacles disappear, but because you step around them with grace. Not because hardship ends, but because you face it without panic. Not because uncertainty vanishes, but because you walk through it without losing yourself. Life does not get easier. You become steadier. Walk slowly, think clearly, live deliberately, and something profound begins to happen within you. Your inner world becomes less chaotic. Your emotions lose their power to overwhelm. Your thoughts become tools rather than threats. You stop clinging to control where none exists. And you begin to master the only thing nature ever placed in your care: your own mind. The deliberate life is not about withdrawing from the world. It is about entering the world with steadiness, clarity, and purpose. Most people drift. They follow impulses disguised as decisions. They call movement progress, even when they are walking in circles. A deliberate life breaks this cycle by replacing momentum with intention. In this way, you stop being a passenger in your own life and become the one who guides each step. Deliberateness is not just about how you act. It is about how you perceive. Your perception shapes everything. Two people can walk the same difficult path. One sees only obstacles. The other sees the chance to strengthen their resolve. One reacts with frustration. The other responds with clarity. One rushes, trying to escape discomfort. The other moves steadily, knowing that endurance builds character. The external path is the same. The internal path is entirely different. A deliberate mind does not distort reality with fear or exaggeration. It sees clearly. This is what has happened. This is what is within my control. This is what I will choose to do. All suffering increases when the mind becomes cloudy. All suffering lessens when the mind becomes clear. Walking slowly helps you see what is actually happening, not what your fear claims is happening. Thinking clearly helps you respond to the truth, not to the story your emotion wants to tell. Living deliberately helps you ensure that each response is aligned with virtue rather than impulse. These three form a single discipline: the discipline of shaping your inner world before you act in the outer one. Think of a moment when your emotions were loud. Your heart raced. Your thoughts spiraled. Your words became sharp or confused. Your actions became rushed or irrational. Now consider this. Did the situation truly require such urgency? Or did your mind create urgency where none existed? Most emotional storms are not created by external events. They are created by internal haste. The Stoic understands this. That is why the Stoic trains daily to slow the inner rhythm of life. Not to suppress emotion, but to notice it. Not to eliminate thoughts, but to choose which thoughts deserve attention. Not to avoid difficulty, but to face difficulty with steadiness. When you walk slowly through your own reactions, you can see them for what they are: temporary waves, not commands. When you think clearly about your fears, you see that most of them are illusions. When you live deliberately in the presence of discomfort, you discover that endurance is not suffering. Endurance is strength. A deliberate life transforms fear into clarity, frustration into patience, reaction into wisdom. This transformation is not dramatic. It happens quietly, one deliberate moment at a time. A quiet mind is not accidental. It is trained. It is cultivated. It is earned through countless small choices that prioritize presence over haste. Here are deeper practices that strengthen deliberate living. 1. Master your internal tempo. Your mind has a speed, a pace at which thoughts and emotions flow. Most people allow the world to set that tempo, but you can set it yourself. When you feel rushed, slow your breath deliberately. When you feel overwhelmed, lower your internal voice. When you feel confused, stop completely until clarity returns. Slowing your inner tempo changes everything. 2. Observe your judgments. Events themselves are often neutral. What creates turmoil is your interpretation. Notice when a judgment arises. This is terrible. This shouldn't happen. This ruins everything. Then ask, is this judgment true, or is it born from haste? The deliberate mind questions before concluding. 3. Act with precision, not pressure. Pressure says, you must do something now. Wisdom says, do the right thing next. When you act with precision, thinking clearly, aligning with your values, choosing deliberately, your actions gain extraordinary strength. One deliberate action is worth more than a dozen rushed ones. 4. Protect your attention fiercely. Attention is the gateway to your inner world. If you give it away freely, your mind becomes a battleground. If you guard it, your mind becomes a sanctuary. Decide consciously what deserves your attention. Not everything qualifies. 5. End each day with reflection. Ask yourself, where did I walk slowly today? Where did I think clearly? Where did I live deliberately? And where did I let haste guide me instead? Reflection sharpens your awareness and strengthens your commitment to deliberate living. Consider the countless moments each day when you rush. Not because the moment requires it, but because your mind has grown accustomed to it. Rushing becomes a habit, a default reaction to discomfort, uncertainty, or expectation. But habits can be unlearned. Imagine replacing the habit of haste with the habit of presence. Imagine replacing the habit of reaction with the habit of reflection. Imagine replacing the habit of fear-driven decisions with choices made from clarity. Your entire life would begin to change, not from sweeping transformations, but from small, deliberate shifts. A person who lives deliberately does not move more slowly than others. They move more wisely than others. They know that speed is often the enemy of understanding. They know that clarity cannot be forced. They know that virtue requires patience. They know that inner peace grows only in minds that make space for it. And they honor this knowledge in each small action. This is the quiet power of deliberate living. It does not make life easier, but it makes you stronger. It does not remove obstacles, but it gives you the clarity to step over them gracefully. It does not guarantee a smooth path, but it ensures you meet a rough path with a calm mind. Life does not change. You change. And through that change, the entire experience of life transforms. A deliberate life is not a quiet retreat from the world. It is a disciplined engagement with it. It is the refusal to be swept away by the currents that carry most people. It is the choice to stand firmly in yourself before you step toward anything else. When you walk slowly, you honor the present moment. When you think clearly, you honor the truth. When you live deliberately, you honor your own nature. A nature built for awareness, reason, courage, and virtue. Life becomes meaningful not when everything goes well, but when you go well through everything. Let us look more deeply at the connection between clarity and virtue. Clear thinking is not simply about accuracy. It is about alignment with what is right. A clear mind asks, what is the virtuous thing to do here? Not, what is the easiest thing? Or, what is the fastest thing? Or, what will others approve of? Clarity is moral clarity. It is the ability to see your responsibilities without being blinded by fear. It is the ability to act rightly without being seduced by convenience. It is the ability to remain steady even when the world pressures you to rush. The more clearly you see your duty, the less confusion you experience. Much of human suffering arises from conflicting desires, wanting many things at once, fearing many outcomes at once, trying to satisfy emotions that contradict one another. This inner war dissolves when clarity appears. A clear mind desires only what aligns with virtue. Everything else becomes irrelevant noise. This is why clarity matters. It does not make life easier. It makes life simpler. A simple life is not an empty life. It is a life focused on what truly matters. And this simplicity cannot be reached through speed. It can only be reached through deliberate slowing. Slowing of thought, slowing of impulse, slowing of reactivity. Consider how much of your inner turmoil comes from reacting too quickly to emotion. A harsh word triggers anger, and before you understand the feeling, your mouth answers with equal force. A moment of fear arises, and before you breathe through it, your mind imagines catastrophes. An unexpected change happens, and before you accept it, your energy drains into resistance. The emotion itself is not the problem. It is your obedience to the emotion that creates suffering. Emotion rises like a wave, naturally, predictably, temporarily. If you rush, you get caught in it. If you slow down, you watch it pass. Walking slowly is not weakness. It is protection. Thinking clearly is not detachment. It is strength. Living deliberately is not limitation. It is freedom. Freedom from impulse. Freedom from confusion. Freedom from the mind's tendency to turn simple events into heavy burdens. When your mind becomes steady, you stop mistaking urgency for importance. You stop mistaking emotion for truth. You stop mistaking movement for progress. This is the beginning of inner peace. Not the absence of difficulties, but the absence of unnecessary turmoil. To live a deliberate life is to cultivate a relationship with yourself that is built on honesty and discipline. To help strengthen this relationship, consider adopting these deeper practices. 1. Allow silence into your day, not as an escape, but as nourishment. Silence is where the mind reorganizes itself. Silence is where clarity grows roots. Even a few minutes of deliberate stillness can reset the entire direction of your thoughts. 2. Treat thoughts as visitors, not masters. When a thought enters your mind, observe it without obedience. Ask, does this thought help me see clearly? Does it align with reality? Does it align with virtue? If not, let it pass. Not with force, not with repression, but with understanding. 3. Honor your values more than your urges. Urges want relief. Values want alignment. Choosing values over urges is how the mind grows stronger. The more often you choose in this way, the more deliberate your entire life becomes. 4. Accept the pace of your own growth. Too many people demand transformation before they have built a foundation. Growth that is forced collapses. Growth that is deliberate endures. A mountain does not rise in a day. Your character is no different. 5. Speak with intention. Words shape relationships. Words shape the mind. Words shape your sense of self. Speak slowly enough that wisdom can join the conversation. When your words become deliberate, your actions soon follow. Now consider the role of time in the deliberate life. People fear time because they fear they are not using it well. They fear wasting it, losing it, running out of it. But time itself is not the problem. It is our relationship to time that creates fear. A hurried life feels short because you are not present for most of it. A deliberate life feels deep because each moment is actually lived. When you rush, time escapes you. When you are present, time expands. Deliberate living restores you to time. It brings your attention back from the future. It frees you from the weight of the past. It places you firmly in the moment you can influence. And here, in this present moment, you walk slowly. You think clearly. You act deliberately. This moment becomes enough. Not because it is perfect, but because you are fully in it. When you live this way, life begins to feel less like a race, and more like a path you are actually walking, one steady step at a time, a path you can handle, a path you can shape with virtue, a path that becomes meaningful because you are awake for it. As you continue to walk slowly, think clearly, and live deliberately, something subtle yet powerful begins to shift within you. The world does not become gentler, your mind does. The path does not become smoother, your steps do. Life does not grant more certainty. You become more certain in how you face uncertainty. This is the quiet reward of deliberate living. You stop depending on the world for stability, because you begin generating stability from within. When the mind slows, you finally see that anxiety was often the result of speed, not circumstance. When the mind clears, you realize that confusion lived mostly in your judgments, not reality. When the mind becomes deliberate, you understand that peace is not found by chasing it. It emerges naturally when you stop chasing everything else. We often imagine that wisdom is achieved through big revelations, dramatic insights, moments of sudden awakening. But wisdom is usually much simpler. It is found in noticing what you previously ignored. It is found in pausing where you used to rush. It is found in choosing virtue where you once chose comfort. It is found in responding thoughtfully where you once reacted impulsively. Wisdom is not lightning. It is a flame that grows steadily, breath by breath, moment by moment. To walk slowly is to let that flame grow rather than smother it with the winds of haste. To think clearly is to feed that flame with truth rather than illusions. To live deliberately is to protect that flame from the storms of distraction. The flame becomes your inner light, guiding your actions, illuminating your path, and steadying your mind. This inner light is not for display. It is not meant to impress others or win admiration. Its purpose is much simpler: to help you see the next step clearly. One clear step is enough. Life is walked step by step, never all at once. Consider how much unnecessary suffering comes from projecting yourself into an imagined future, one that you fear or crave or try desperately to control. In that imaginary future, everything feels urgent. Everything feels heavy. Everything feels overwhelming. But in the present moment, the only moment where life actually happens, things are almost always manageable. You can breathe. You can think. You can take one deliberate step. Life is never unbearable in the present. It is unbearable in imagination. The Stoic trains to return to the present not as an escape, but as a home, a foundation, a place of clarity. When you walk slowly, you stay in the present. When you think clearly, you untangle the knots created in imagination. When you live deliberately, you shape each moment consciously instead of being thrown by the next one. This is how suffering lessens. Not by changing the world, but by changing the mind that meets the world. Now let us ground the philosophy more deeply into daily life. Walking slowly in conflict. When someone speaks harshly, do not let emotion push your tongue forward. Allow their words to land, settle, and reveal themselves. Most insults contain more about the speaker's pain than your worth. A slow step here prevents days of unnecessary turmoil. Thinking clearly in uncertainty. When the future feels unclear, do not rush to predict or control it. List what is within your control and act on that. Release the rest. Clarity is not knowing everything. It is knowing what belongs to you and what is not. Living deliberately in pain. When life brings hardship, do not cling to the idea that it should be otherwise. Accept what has arrived. Ask what virtue this moment requires: patience, courage, humility, endurance, and practice it deliberately. Pain becomes meaningful when it is used to strengthen character. Walking slowly with yourself. Treat yourself as you would a dear friend learning to walk through life. No rushing. No harsh judgments. No demands for perfection. Just steady encouragement and deliberate practice. Thinking clearly about desire. Most desires are not for the thing itself, but for the feeling you imagine it will bring. See this clearly, and desire loses its grip. A deliberate mind desires only what depends on itself. Virtue, clarity, steadiness. Living deliberately each morning. Wake not with urgency, but with intention. Before the world enters your mind, enter your own mind first. Set the direction of your day before events try to set it for you. Living deliberately each night. Review what you did well, what you did poorly, and what you learned. A mind that reflects each night grows wiser each morning. These practices are not meant to create a perfect life. They are meant to create a strong one. They do not eliminate challenges. They prepare you for them. They do not guarantee success. They guarantee steadiness. And steadiness, in a world of constant motion, is a profound strength. Think now of the kind of life you hope to lead, not outwardly, but inwardly. Do you wish for a life where you feel grounded? A life where clarity guides your decisions? A life where peace is not something you chase, but something that naturally arises from the way you meet each moment? Such a life is not built in dramatic transformations. It is built in ordinary moments lived with extraordinary attentiveness. When you walk slowly, every step becomes a lesson. When you think clearly, every experience becomes wisdom. When you live deliberately, every day becomes meaningful. There is a dignity in such a life. A quiet dignity that does not depend on praise, recognition, or outward success. It is the dignity of self-mastery. The dignity of meeting life on your own terms. With your own virtue. Through your own steady mind. The world does not need to change for you to live this way. You simply need to return to yourself. And so, we arrive at the heart of the teaching. Walk slowly. Think clearly. Live deliberately. Slow your steps so you can truly see the path before you. Calm your mind so you can truly understand what life asks of you. Shape each moment with intention so your life reflects your deepest values. Life will continue to rise and fall, to shift and surprise, to challenge and to test. But when your mind becomes steady, when your thoughts become clear, when your actions become deliberate, the path, any path, becomes walkable, not because it is easy, but because you are ready. A deliberate life is not a life free from difficulty. It is a life in which difficulty cannot overcome you. And that is the greatest peace a human being can know.